Respected Dharma Masters, respected practitioners and guests, over the past 500 years, the face of Buddhism has undergone many changes. First, it began to be regarded by some as a religion. Then, it was looked upon as a philosophy. Some even twisted it almost beyond recognition until it became more of a cult. And recently, it has come to be portrayed by some as a show. Some of these misunderstandings have been honest ones, often occurring as people have tried to understand and respect the teachings. Some of these misunderstandings occurred as people strove to benefit themselves at the expense of others. If we want to really understand and benefit from Buddhism, we need to go back to its original form. Approximately 2,000 years ago, in 67 AD, Buddhism officially came to China, and since then has spread and flourished throughout the country. The emperor had sent special envoys to India to invite Buddhist monks to come to China to teach Buddhism, which at that time was understood to be an education. The sutras, which are recorded teachings of Buddha Shakyamuni, address him as our original teacher. Those who listened to him were called students, as we call ourselves today. This teacher-student relationship is only found in education. Another reason that Buddhism is an education is also to be found in the sutras, where we learn that students would ask questions of the Buddha, who would then answer them. If the students did not understand or thought that we might not understand, they would ask for further clarification, which the Buddha would then provide. This is essentially a classroom discussion. Please understand that Buddha Shakyamuni simply taught. He conducted neither ceremonies nor rites. Buddhism is Buddha Shakyamuni's educational system, which is similar to that of Confucius, for both presented similar viewpoints and methods. The goal of Buddhism is to attain wisdom. In Sanskrit, the ancient language of India, this wisdom was called Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, meaning the perfect, complete wisdom. The Buddha taught us that the main objective of our learning and cultivation is to achieve this ultimate wisdom. He further taught that everyone has the potential to realize this innate wisdom because it is already an intrinsic part of our nature. It is not something we can attain externally. However, most of us have become confused through general misconceptions and therefore are unable to realize this potential. However, if we can break through this confusion, we will realize this intrinsic part of our nature. Thus, as we can see, Buddhism is an educational system. It is aimed at regaining our original intrinsic self-nature. It also teaches absolute equality, which stemmed from the Buddha's recognition that all sentient beings possess this innate wisdom and ability. Therefore, there really is no difference among beings. Everyone is different now because we have lost our original self-nature and we have become confused. The degree of wisdom exhibited by individuals depends on the degree of delusion and has nothing to do with our original true nature. The Buddha's teaching help us to realize this innate, ultimate, and perfect wisdom. With this wisdom, we can solve all our problems and turn our suffering into happiness. Due to our present lack of wisdom, we perceive and behave foolishly. Thus, we suffer the consequences evoked by our incorrect thoughts, speech, and behavior. If we have wisdom, our thoughts, speech, and behavior will be correct. How then can we suffer when there are no ill consequences to suffer from? Of course we will be happy. From here, we can see that suffering is caused by our delusion, by our current state of confusion. And the source of happiness is our own realization of wisdom. The Buddha's educational system can also be witnessed in today's lecture halls, in which we can see many teaching aids. When we first enter the hall or classroom, we see the image of a Buddha, which symbolizes our original self-nature. We may see a container of water on the Buddha table. The clear water symbolizes the principle that our minds need to be as pure as that water, to be void of greed, anger, ignorance, and arrogance. It is calm, without a single ripple, indicating that we interact with people and matters with a serene, non-discriminating mind of equality. Furthermore, it is pure and calm, reflecting clearly and thoroughly, just as we would see everything in a mirror. Offerings of flowers symbolize the cause as the blossoms result in the bearing of fruit, reminding us that there are consequences to our every thought, word, and action. Lamps or candles symbolize wisdom and brightness, illuminating the darkness of our current ignorance. The images of lotus flowers symbolize transcending the 10 realms of existence. First, it rises through the mud at the bottom of the pond, which symbolizes the 6 realms of birth and death. Then it rises through the water, which symbolizes the 4 sage realms. Finally, it breaks through the surface of the water, completely transcending the 10 realms, reaching the one true Dharma realm, the stage of ultimate enlightenment. The lotus flower teaches us that although we do live in this world, we should not become polluted by our surroundings. The lotus flower above the water symbolizes that one day all beings, from those in the hell realms to those who are bodhisattvas, will all become Buddhas. Buddhas are beings with this perfect, complete enlightenment. The Buddha realm exceeds the 10 realms, and to become a Buddha is the ultimate goal of our teaching, as well as to transcend the 10 realms. Today, when we see images of Buddha Shakyamuni, we are reminded that we need to feel gratitude for his 49 years of teaching. The Buddha, a voluntary social educator, dedicated his whole life to teaching us how to cut off our afflictions, to attain perfect, complete wisdom, and thus perfect, complete happiness. He was an ordinary person who saw the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death, but did not know how to solve those problems. He was deluded, but became awakened. He learned through cultivation the truth of life and the universe, and then taught us how to become enlightened by using himself as an example so we can learn from his experiences, so that we too can become awakened and thus lead happy and fulfilling lives. In our world today, there are many beliefs, religions, many cultures, many different viewpoints of how to explain our world and our relationship to it. But although we seem to have so many differences, we also have so many similarities. Do not kill. Do not steal. Do not lie. Do all that is good and nothing that is bad. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Remember the kindness of others and repay that kindness with gratitude. Whether we call it caring for and respecting others or loving kindness or compassion, we believe in helping others, in giving of what we have or of who we are to those who need our help or our wisdom. Today, many people are searching for wisdom, for the understanding of why we are born, why we live, and why we die. We are compelled by conflicting emotions. We are compelled by logic. When we hear of other beliefs, our feelings range from fear to curiosity, from surprise to fascination, from suspicion to cooperation. Everywhere we look, we see societies with diverse cultures, societies with many differences, societies that often emphasize these differences. Today, many people look outside of themselves to these differences, believing that they are the reason why so many are so unhappy. But the reason lies within us. As human beings, we undergo the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death. We suffer hardships, do not attain what we seek, are parted from those we love, and often find ourselves in the presence of those whom we resent or even hate. The failure of people to understand the real cause of their unhappiness increases this very unhappiness, this very suffering. We all know people who regularly have to take tranquilizers to even be able to fall asleep. Why? They feel their lives are out of control. They wish to control other people to possess more things. 50 years ago, people had time to appreciate nature, time to study the works of wise people. Today, we have no time for nature, no time for contemplation. Our lives are much more comfortable than our predecessors, but we have no spiritual life. So we search for excitement and take pills to paralyze our feelings, to cover our inability to cope with life. How can we fix this? Reduce our time at work, at play. With purity of mind, we will need less. Our lives are wasted in our attempts to attain things. We brought nothing into this world. We will take nothing when we leave it. What we need is a simple manner of living. Buddha Shakyamuni lived a simple life with merely the essentials: 1 meal a day, 3 sets of clothes, sleeping under a tree at night. Yet he was most happy, most contented. By following his example and also leading a simple life, we can reduce our attachments, and likewise, we can lead contented lives. Work 1 year, take off 1 year. This manner of living can bring us happiness and serenity. If we do not attach to either giving or to receiving, we will enter the awakened being's state of quiet joy, tranquility, serenity, gentleness. How can we change the direction in which we are currently headed? By learning how to overcome our greed, anger, ignorance, and arrogance, so that our minds will no longer be deluded, but will become awakened. By understanding the law of cause and effect. It has been said that bodhisattvas, who are beings who help others to reach realization after achieving their own, fear causes, while sentient beings fear affects. Understanding as they do, bodhisattvas fear committing ill effects, and therefore they take steps to create no negative causes. In so doing, they eradicate the debts, the karmic obstacles that have been generated from their previous wrongdoings, as well as accumulating perfect merits and virtues until they reach the state of Buddhahood. Whether worldly Dhamma, which includes things, events, phenomena, everything, or the Buddha Dharma, which is the teaching of the Buddhas, nothing is beyond the law of cause and effect. It is said that everything is empty and unreal, an eternally impermanent element. But the law of cause and effect is unchangeable and real, an eternally permanent element. Both cause and effect are related closely as they coexist mutually. A causal action becomes a consequential effect, and this in turn gives rise to another causal action. From this endless cycle, we can see that a particular causal action is not fixed. Neither is a single effect the only effect. The combination of cause and effect creates a vicious cycle, the cycle of reincarnation. A bodhisattva is an awakened, understanding being and is therefore well aware that every causal action produces an effect. Because of this, they are very cautious in their every thought, word, and action, fearful that a causal action will become a negative karmic effect in the future. For they will certainly have to personally bear the consequences. Unlike bodhisattvas, we sentient beings do not understand the principles and the realities of life. The little knowledge we have is limited and vague. Consequently, we carelessly commit causal actions and do not understand when the effects occur later why they happened. It is then too late for us to regret. And for most of us, not only do we not feel remorse, but we also blame others for our misfortune. This in turn creates more bad effects. Cause and effect is constantly being played out all around us. If we are unable to connect the occurrences, it is because we are not mindful. Rather, we are rash and careless, not yet truly understanding. Regardless of the method we practice, the method of practicing Buddha name recitation while seeking birth into the Western Pure Land adheres to the law of cause and effect. For our own sake, we do not want to create any more bad deeds or causes, to only cultivate kind deeds, which is what ancient masters, sages, and the patriarchs tried so hard to encourage us to do. The Pure Land method allows us to carry our existing karma to the Western Pure Land. However, it is crucial that we understand that existing karma refers to the old, not to the new. This new existing karma, which is created in the present, cannot be brought to the Pure Land. Actually, this new karma will be one of the impediments obstructing us from being born into the Pure Land. Carrying over our old existing karma means carrying over the negative karma that was created before we began to learn and practice Buddhism. With this understanding, we must make the resolve to not create any more negative karma. Only then can we become totally liberated. It would be wrong to think that we can still be born into the Pure Land, even if we continue to do bad deeds, that chanting alone will be enough. It has been said that out of 10,000 people who practice the Buddha name recitation method, only a handful will be born into the Pure Land. The remaining 9,995 could not obtain birth into the Pure Land. Why? They did not stop creating negative karma in this present lifetime. In the end, regardless of all their chanting, they were unable to obtain birth into the Pure Land. They still bore their consequences in the 6 realms of reincarnation. It is crucial that we understand this. To practice Buddhism, we need to bring forth the Bodhi mind, the awakened mind, the mind that clearly understands the principles and the true reality of life and the universe. The great, compassionate mind with every thought to attain complete realization for self and to help all others accomplish this as well. The mind with perfect determination to cease all wrongdoings, to cultivate only kind deeds, to practice only virtuous ways. The great, compassionate, and sincere Bodhi mind is to offer without selfishness. It is a mind without self-regard. The mind with no expectation of reward. With this mind, we will be able to care for all beings as we care for ourselves, our family, our group. Practicing with this Bodhi mind, our karmic debts can be eliminated. The Buddha has explained it in this manner so that we can understand. In truth, our karmic debts cannot be eliminated, but can only be transformed into good fortune, which is happiness, intelligence, well-being, prosperity, etc. It is the great benefit of the human and celestial realms. Therefore, it is only temporary and still subject to birth and death. However, transformation is equivalent to elimination, to transform our afflictions into the Bodhi mind. It is to transform the cycle of birth and death into the state of nirvana. In the process of transformation, our merits and virtues become flawless and reach completion as we attain Buddhahood, the ultimate awakening. In the Flower Adornment Sutra, the Buddha tells us that all sentient beings inherently possess the virtuous abilities and innate wisdom of the Buddhas. In other words, all sentient beings have the same Buddha nature, the same self-nature, our original true self. But our true self is currently obstructed, currently covered by our deluded thoughts, our wandering and discriminatory thoughts and attachments. But this original self-nature is not permanently lost. To uncover this original nature is to attain Buddhahood, to attain the state of perfect and faultless wisdom. Our virtues, talents, abilities, and good fortune are also perfect. Thus, when our every aspect is perfect, we become Buddhas. Why then are we currently living such difficult lives? Because of wandering and discriminatory thoughts, attachments, afflictions. Afflictions are all the conditions that cause pain, distress and suffering which disturb the body and mind. Attachments are fixations to certain ideas or objects. They result in our having desires, strong feelings of selfishness and jealousy, having a longing to control, the longing to possess others. Because of these, we dwell on thoughts of what have occurred, what we have remembered, what we have imagined. We are led by these thoughts, unable to stop them. It is crucial that we cease these attachments, for they have made us sad or angry and caused us to have strong emotions. For due to these attachments, we cannot stop thinking of ourselves, of what we want. What can we do? As ordinary people, we are still subject to thoughts and feelings of attachment. So as soon as these thoughts arise, immediately replace them with the thought of Amitabha. As soon as the next thought arises, replace it also with the thought of Amitabha. In this way, we can practice anytime, anywhere. The Buddha taught us that the universe is generated from our wandering and discriminatory thoughts, is created from our attachments. These obstacles represent false beliefs and wrong viewpoints and have created the 41 Dharma Body Bodhisattva stages of enlightenment. Why are there so many different levels? They manifest from our different degrees of ignorance and wandering thoughts. Where do the 10 Dharma realms arise from? They appear due to the lack of equality from our discriminatory thoughts. When we harbor one single discriminatory thought against others, the 10 Dharma realms will then appear. The highest of these are the 4 sage realms of sound hearer, Pratyekabuddha, Bodhisattva, and Buddha. When we cling to attachments, the 6 realms of reincarnation of the heavens, Asuras, humans, hungry ghosts, animals, and hells will appear. And as our attachments increase, the three bad realms will appear. Finally, when our attachments are the most tenacious and severe, the hell realms will appear. Why are we unable to transcend the cycle of birth and death? Unable to sever our karmic obstacles? Not only do we not want to correct our faults, we are constantly increasing them. How then do we rid ourselves of these deluded and illusory thoughts to uncover the original capabilities and virtues of our self-nature? The only way is by letting go of our wandering and discriminatory thoughts and attachments. When we have eliminated all of these, we will not only overcome the cycle of birth and death, but we will surpass the 10 Dharma realms as well. And when this happens, we will finally dwell in the one true Dharma realm, the state of the Buddhas. And it is within this reality that the law of cause and effect occurs. Wandering and discriminatory thoughts and attachments are causes. Greed and anger and ignorance are causes. The 10 Dharma realms, comprised of the 4 sage realms and the 6 realms of reincarnation, are effects. Since wandering and discriminatory thoughts and attachments generate negative karma, they ought to be eliminated so that our merits and virtues can become perfect and complete. Cultivating a non-discriminatory mind provides the serenity for practitioners to let go of afflictions. But it is most difficult for most of us to let go due to sentimental attachments, due to the injustices we feel we have suffered and the resultant grudges. However, feeling this way only puts us at more of a disadvantage, because then we suffer the consequences of our grudges. Inequalities exist in this world because of our discriminatory mind. Ordinary people only think in terms of the 4 forms explained in the Diamond Sutra: self, people, other beings, and time. If we do not think in terms of these 4 forms, then we will break through our afflictions with the strength from our cultivation. Therefore, when we generate emotions, we need to remind ourselves of these 4 forms and remember that they are only an illusion. When we do this, we will be truly happy, accord with conditions, and be joyful in the good deeds of others. The accumulation of merits depends upon our cultivation. What is this cultivation? The ability to let go of our discriminatory thoughts and attachments, to correct our erroneous thoughts and ways. What are virtues? Virtues arise from having accomplished deep concentration, wisdom, and the one true Dharma realm. It is therefore important to understand the meaning of merits and virtues. For the attainment of beneficial merits and virtues is the perfect attainment of Buddhahood. The merits and virtues bestowed upon the highest levels of bodhisattvas are not yet perfect. Why? Because they have chosen not to break through the last remaining degree of ignorance. They have not relinquished the thinnest shred, the last degree of wandering thoughts. And this is why their merits and virtues are not quite perfect. Upon breaking through this last degree of illusion, of ignorance, their merits and virtues will be the perfect completeness which manifests the attainment of Buddhahood. Sentient beings commit wrongdoings due to deluded minds and deviated viewpoints. When interacting with people, matters, and affairs, we usually act from greed, anger, ignorance, from selfishness, from the wish to control our surroundings. Therefore, to go along with our true nature, we need to give up trying to control and dominate others. We need to replace thoughts of ourselves with thoughts of all others. Then our purity of mind will increase and our afflictions will decrease. If we achieve this state of mind, then we should help others to achieve it as well. But as long as we still have these thoughts of greed, anger, and arrogance, the wish to control others, we will still have the causes that generate our birth into the three bad realms of animals, hungry ghosts, and hells. Why are we born into the animal realms? Ignorance. Greed is the cause of our being born into the hungry ghost realm, and anger is the cause of our being born into the hells. There is no way to avoid the effects of negative karma once the wrongdoing has been committed. We ourselves have to bear the consequences, the retribution arising from our misdeeds. No person, God, or Buddha can bear the consequences for us. They have neither the authority nor the power to do so. The reality is that we alone will suffer the consequences for our actions. To hope otherwise is like trying to run away from our own shadow. In doing so, we will simply perpetrate more wrongdoings. There are many instances evidencing this phenomena. Take the example of an ignorant person who, having done a small deed, thinks that they should immediately obtain good fortune. This is simply wishful thinking. It is true that we will receive good fortune after having done good deeds. However, such good fortune may not show itself immediately. Why? Because our transgressions are too heavy to be compensated by just one small virtuous deed. Not understanding this, when things do not go well, we begin to doubt the teachings and question why the Buddha's words are not true. Why do I do good deeds and receive misfortune, while others do bad deeds and receive good fortune? We then begin to doubt the law of cause and effect. Consequently, we begin to doubt and inadvertently slander the Buddha's teachings. But by doing so, we further increase the severity of our wrongdoings. There are three aspects of a karmic effect. First, there is good fortune which arises from kind deeds, or suffering which arises from misdeeds, which may manifest within our present lifetime. Second, the respective karmic effect may not manifest within the present lifetime, but within the next lifetime. Third, such karmic effects may not manifest until the third lifetime, or they may not show up until after innumerable lifetimes. So causal actions do give rise to effects. We just cannot be certain when they will arise. Under what circumstances would these causal effects take place? Good or bad karmic effects can only be brought about by the existence of a catalytic condition or circumstance. If the appropriate condition matures in our current lifetime, the respective karmic effect will manifest in the current lifetime. Hence, the first aspect of a karmic effect. Similarly, should the catalytic condition mature in our next lifetime, the karmic effect will manifest itself in that lifetime. Finally, should the condition fail to arise after numerous lifetimes, the karmic cause can never be eradicated. Perhaps after the passing of innumerable lifetimes, the catalytic condition may finally arise, and then the karmic effect will manifest itself. Take, for example, a story told in the Lotus Sutra. An old man had requested of the Buddha to become a monk. For this to happen, one needed to have good roots, good fortune, virtues, and the right conditions. At that time, all those who became monks under Buddha Shakyamuni had achieved attainment. Buddha Shakyamuni tested his students' ability by asking them to decide whether he should accept the old man as a monk. All the students were arhats, and thus they were capable of knowing an individual's past 500 lifetimes. They doomed the old man as a prospect because they felt within those 500 lifetimes he had not planted the cause. But Buddha Shakyamuni told them that infinite lifetimes ago, the old man had been a woodchopper. One day, in the mountains, he ran into a tiger, and to escape, he ran up a tree and called out, "Homage to the Buddha." With only those few words, he planted his good causes. When he met with Buddha Shakyamuni, after innumerable eons, those causes came into effect. The conditions had finally matured. Buddha Shakyamuni therefore accepted the man as a monk, and he later became an arhat. This is an example of a karmic effect which manifested itself after innumerable lifetimes. Every thought, word, and action arising from our hearts and minds creates a karmic effect. We reap what we sow. By planting good causes, we reap good consequences. By planting bad causes, we reap bad consequences. Even Buddhas and Bodhisattvas cannot alter this reality. The respective karmic effect will manifest itself only when the relevant condition matures. If we do not yet see the results, it is only because the appropriate time has not matured. With thorough understanding of this truth, we will naturally become very watchful of our every thought, word, and action. We will also be able to adopt the right attitude when interacting with others, matters, and affairs to accumulate more good fortune. When we are not yet able to uncover our virtuous self-nature due to our lack of awakening, we can only receive the benefits through virtuous cultivation. The guideline for determining good and bad deeds has been clearly defined by the Buddha. When every thought arising from our mind is to benefit others, we will create good fortune. When every thought arising from our minds is to benefit ourselves, we will create misfortune. We will create negative karma. We need to stop benefiting ourselves at the expense of harming others. For such behavior only creates negative karma, for which we will have to suffer the consequences later. If we do not believe this, it will still happen. To correct this, we need to constantly practice great compassion. Why do we use this guideline of whether we are benefiting others or benefiting ourselves to determine whether we are creating good or bad karma? Remember that the karmic causes of the 10 Dharma realms are created from wandering and discriminatory thoughts and attachments. When every thought contains the element of self is for us, our attachments are very severe. Consequently, we are still lost in the cycle of birth and death, still mired in the 10 realms of existence. Thus, it is negative karma when every rising thought is only for us, our family, our group, our country. Ordinary people do not yet understand this, are under the misconception that it is perfectly natural, even correct, to think in this way. They do not yet realize that such views are totally contrary to what the Buddha taught. Unlike the Buddha, we are unable to perceive clearly, and thus we always see things in a false light. The Buddha, knowing and understanding all, sees everything clearly, speaks only the truth. Each and every thought is a karmic act. If a cause arises from wisdom, so then will the effect. If a cause arises from ignorance, so then will the effect. Unfortunately, we plant causes mainly due to our ignorance. And this is why we have created innumerable transgressions in our past lifetimes. Most of the time, our bad deeds outnumber our good ones. If our good deeds had exceeded the bad ones, we would have already transcended the 6 realms of reincarnation. As long as we remain in this cycle, we will undoubtedly commit more bad than good deeds. Thus, we ought to be very cautious, very mindful. However, the Buddha tells us that our karma is not fixed, that it can be transformed. Since everything arises from our minds, karma also arises from our minds. Since our wrongdoings are created from our minds, then they can also be transformed by our minds. Once we have attained purity of mind, our karma can be transformed, will be eradicated. Often, we fail to understand the full impact of the Buddha's words. This is due to our confused minds and deviated viewpoints. We have read in the sutras that awakened beings, such as arhats and bodhisattvas, will be terrified after listening to the words of the Buddha. They tell us that an arhat will sweat blood when they remember the unimaginable sufferings of the Avicii hell, the lowest of the hell realms. Thus, they are far more vigilant than we are. Since we are not yet capable of knowing our past lives, we do not know, we do not remember any of this. But we too have been in the hell realms before. And as long as we are still mired in the cycle of birth and death, we will go there again and often. The time spent in the hell realms is comprised of infinite eons, while the time spent in the heaven realms is a relatively short 80,000 great eons. Although we have committed heavy wrongdoings, we can still be helped before we fall into the hell realms. But once we have descended into them, it is extremely difficult for us to be helped, notwithstanding the presence of Earth Treasure Bodhisattva, who is there to help all sentient beings. Any Buddha or Bodhisattva who has an affinity with a sentient being in hell and goes there to teach him or her is called Earth Treasure Bodhisattva.
Amitofo, Amitofo, Amitofo. 阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥。